Kislev has long been the bulwark of the North. Brave sons and daughters of the motherland have spilled blood for centuries in defense against the unending destruction of chaos. Countless invasions have been broken against our walls, and we Kislevites gladly give our lives to keep the world's end at bay. Boris Boka, the Red Tsar, is a legendary figure, rising to power when his father Vladimir Boka fell in battle against goblins east of Kislev. A true leader of the people, the new Tsar nearly emptied the treasuries to hire mercenaries, and retrained the Kislevite army to better defend against threats, to rebuild roads, bridges, and towns, destroyed in the Great War against Chaos over 100 years prior, and to import black powder and engineers from the Empire. Tsar Boris was also instrumental in the revival of the cult of Ursun, which had long been overtaken by the worship of Ulrich and other foreign gods, undertook the trial of the priests of Ursun, and set out into the frozen forests to tame a bear. It took him 18 days and nearly cost his life, but Boris Boka had bonded with a gigantic bear he called Orskin. The Tsar had won the respect of the great beast, after they had fought one another for a full day. Their battle echoed loud across the countryside, and their blood stained the snow. Soon a ravenous pack of wolves took the opportunity to ambush the dueling bear. The snarling pack first charged the wounded bear, but Boris jumped to his aid, crushing skulls with single blows from his fists. He tore the creatures momentarily from its back. Suffering grievous wounds from his previous battle with the bear though, Boris was soon battered to the ground by their relentless assault. As the wolves moved in for the kill, the bear fell upon the Tsar's attackers, tearing flesh apart with massive claws, and crushing bones with powerful jaws. Boris and the bear returned to Kislev together, where he was at once named the High Priest of Ursun, first in hundreds of years. Urskin and the Tsar always rode into battle as one, both as a symbol of Ursun's power and as a devastating enemy to their foes. The Red Tsar met his end in battle, while leading a reclamation force north of the river Linsk into the Troll country. At an unnamed river crossing, his army clashed with a massive warhost of Kurgan. The Tsar charged deep into the Kurgan lines, slaughtering dozens at a time, but was soon cut off from the rest of his army by sheer numbers. Boris and Urskin fought with all of the might and fury of the Bear God, but the duo could not hope to triumph against such odds. Urskin was able to fight his way free of the Kurgan, and carry the mortally wounded Tsar back to his army. Kislevites fought on with renewed fury at seeing their wounded Tsar return, and only when the battle had been won, did Boris slump from the back of Urskin and breathe his last. His faithful partner roared in mourning for a full night, before vanishing into the bleak Northlands. Well, that may have been the end for any normal man. The Red Tsar was anything but, and Ursun would need his champion once more. 7 years ago, Ursun the Bear God seized his mighty roar that broke the winter snows, and allowed warmer seasons to begin. As the snows fell unending, the Tsarina Katerin sent an expeditionary force led by Yuri Barkov, a prince of Kislev. Misled and corrupted by chaos, Yuri became the executioner for the one he ventured so far and fought so hard to rescue.
I renounce you.
The resulting explosion of power critically wounded Yuri, who offered his soul to the gods of chaos in return for his life, becoming a demon prince himself. This was not to be the end for the bear, as Boris's daughter, the new Tsarina Katerin, fought her way deep into the Forge of Souls, where the bear god was being kept, and through the devotion of the people of Kislev, Ursun was revived, and his roar finally broke winter for the beleaguered people of Kislev. If you sit for a drink at any of the taverns out on the northernmost oblasts, you'll hear tales by the farmers and TZARs. Tales that Boris Boka yet lives. revived by Ursun's roars of pain during the Great Winter. The Red TZAR now gathers the bravest sons and daughters of Kislev, north of the Frozen Sea. The Dogs of Chaos have been purged from the settlement known by the savages as the Tower of Torment, where Boris's followers known as Ursun's Revivalists now build permanent homes, buildings and defenses, where once there was only rubble and ruin.
Death is like the winter chill. No door can keep it from us. And summer yet may bloom again, though ice be all upon us. You must face these demons.
And welcome on into the start of our story. We shall break immersion, but for a moment while we go over my graphic settings for those interested, as well as the general overview for game settings and how Kislev and Boris play. We will start with those graphic settings. We'll swing on into the advanced, and you can kind of take a look at everything that we have active and how we have it set up. I usually do drop a shadow detail all the way to medium no matter what, just because on ultra and extreme it will drop your performance by an extreme amount, so just keep that in mind if things are running slow. It tends to be the shadows, not always. We'll swing on back over to how Boris and the Ursun Revivalists are going to be playing, so we can swing up here to see the High Priest of Ursun. We're going to have diplomatic relations plus 30 with the faction of the Ice Court. Our settlements in the Chaos Wasteland climates are going to receive reduced climate penalties and generate devotion, so instead of being uninhabitable like it is with most factions, Chaotic Wasteland are going to just be unpleasant, so they'll just be the yellow blob. We will also have a reduced reduction cost of 30% for garrison and religion buildings. Attrition minus 5% when under siege for all of our armies. Construction time minus 1 for province capital and settlement buildings. And then we will have a -2 corruption for all provinces and recruit rank +1 for warbear riders. For Ursus himself,
Demon Slayer!
He has the Red TZAR trait. Ursun called to me, and even the coldest of sleeps I answered. He has -30% upkeep for warbear riders units just for himself. +7 leadership when fighting against Warriors of Chaos and Demons of Chaos, and Norska. And then +9 melee attack when fighting against the same, and then he is going to be immune to Chaos Undivided Corruption and Chaos Waste Attrition, which is going to be quite excellent. Normally you are going to have to be running around in the Chaos Wastes in encampment stance if you don't want to take any kind of attrition. For changes to vanilla in the Radius mod, we do actually start off with the Tower of Torment unlocked, with a single palisade building already built, so it's a tier 2 settlement. Starts off with a palisade, which is actually pretty good if you're wanting to play a bit more defensive. It's very good for the AI, who oftentimes, as Boris Ursus, just forgets about the Tower of Torment and wanders off into the Chaos Wastes to die, which, while possibly being canonic, is not how we'd like to have it. So this is helpful for the AI. The only problem is, normally with the Motherland, you would like to start off with either Ursun or Tor, depending on what is around you. And it is a bit difficult to use Ursun to grab these 5 supporters per when you already have the settlement under control, so you normally would get to start off with 5 extra. It's not that big a deal, but if you would like to min-max, it makes you a wee bit sad. But we will, as Ursun's High Priest, start off by invoking his power, which is going to use some of our devotion. We invoke the Motherland, and if your devotion is low, there is a chance of Chaos Incursion, so that's going to be any kind of Chaos aligned army, Beastmen, Norska, or Warriors. And you can get more devotion by building up buildings, building characters, defeating enemies, and just fighting chaos, I guess. And then doing different hero actions. So I guess I didn't really go over what we were getting for our Ursun invocation. Please don't be mean. We're going to get 5 supporters generated when we occupy a settlement. Any enemies that are going to be coming into our territory are going to be suffering attrition. And then we'll have an ability called Bitterness of Winter that's going to be lowering some enemies' melee stats while in combat. With all that out of the way, let's go ahead and grab Boris here and deal with this demon army that's been romping around in our territory.
Take their head.
Take their heads indeed. Bloody Sword is wielding 3 Bloodletters, a set of Chaos Warriors, and then some Doggos. Ursun here is going to be quite a deadly fighter, but I think we will be more than capable of dealing with these demons. Let's get to the first battle. Traveling with the Red TZAR is a small and elite corps, consisting of 3 companies of armored Kossars, 3 companies of his most loyal TZAR Guard, 2 units of Kislev's Pride, the Warbear Riders, and finally a lone Patriarch, fiery of temperament and deadly in battle. The Kossars carried the standard kit of a heavy hand axe, pistol and shot, and a sturdy shield. Their units were known as the Sons of Prague, the Shields of Kislev, and the Axes of Erengrad, all drawn from the soldiery of the 3 major settlements in Kislev, and all fierce rivals, always looking to compete and earn their hometown the greatest glory. The grim-faced killers tasked with defending the TZAR were adorned with equipment to match their important status as a personal guard. Sporting heavier armor, shields, and long, elegant scimitars over the axe and pistol of their Kossar counterparts, the TZAR Guard cut down any who would threaten their leader with frightening speed. The 3 companies traveling with Boris were called the Red Guard, Katarin's Wrath, and Ursun's Guard. Ursun's favorite would always be seen in the Red Tsar's armies, leading from the front and devastating any foe with bone-crushing blows. Any who survived the initial impact would soon be ripped apart by claw, hoof, and the cold steel in the hands of the bear's bonded rider. Very few could hope to survive a clash with such devastating power, let alone triumph. Companies traveling with Boris had long fought by his side, all current riders being drawn from survivors of the fateful clash that led the Tsar slain many years prior. On hearing of his return, they immediately set out to serve once more, renaming their group Boris's Revenge and Ursun's Feast in honor of Boka and the Bear God. A lone patriarch by the name of Urkalisk joined the resolute group as well. A hulking and burly member of the Orthodoxy by all standards, and brimming with all of the fires and passions of the most fervent of the cult, Urkalisk was quick to rise to the ranks to Patriarch, even being among the ranks to anoint Boris as High Priest of Ursun. He was among the first to arrive upon hearing of the revival of the Red Tsar, and will be leading this new crusade into the Chaos Waste with crushing blows and invigorating the troops with battle prayers, heard clearly above the roar and clamor of battle. Welcome then to our first battle against these Khornate whelps. Let's take a quick look at the stats. We'll just do a fast overview. Boris's notable abilities being he's got Frostbite and magical attacks with a bonus versus large. The Sons of Prague are axe infantry. They've got pretty good skirmishing abilities. Once they are in melee, they do suffer a bit in normal, but at this they've got 45 attack and 53 defense, so they are going to be quite a potent infantry unit there. Off on the right flank, I've got all 3 units of my TZAR Guard, the Red Guard, Katarin's Wrath, and Ursun's. They've got a 51 to their attack with a disruption ability, lowering defense and casting abilities. And then that goes for all abilities. If they have an ability at all, I believe that gives and adds on a 50% miscast chance no matter what. Correct me in the comments if I'm incorrect. For the Warbear Riders, obviously they're just a big bear unit that is incredible. Wish these guys had the chilling aura effect, seeing as they are riding on the Frost Bears, but such is the way. For the overall strategy for this battle, I've got the TZAR Guard off on the right with the Patriarch, and then Ursun Chosen leading the Kossars that are armored off on this other flank to kind of fire in on the backs and pincushion these Warhounds before they can get too close. Really just disrupt the enemy once they are engaged with my main line. I guess the last stat card was for Urkalisk down here. He's got 49 armor since he's got a bit more being strong, 50 to his melee attack, 32 to the defense, and a 441 weapon strength. Gonna be quite potent. He gets even stronger to everyone around him once he does lose his health, once he's down below 25%. So you do want to leave him in combat and maybe charge him in and out once he is down below, but he is meant to stick in and actually lose a bit of health. We've got the bears on the sides to crash in on the flanks while others are engaged otherwise. They can just rip through completely unopposed. Let them charge on in. We have a unit of several bloodletters and then a bit of chaos warriors as well, so pretty hardy core of warriors here. But we are entirely unfazed. Since we are attacking, they are going to kind of let us set up a little bit more than they normally would. If they were coming after us, they would not just take the hill and sit as they currently are.
They will fall, Kislev in
This allows me to get a bit of a better firing position for the armored Kossars, allow them to engage with those Chaos Warhounds immediately and drop down the Wrath of Ursun, slowing their speed and dropping their overall vigor. The leadership was less important, but the pistols can now shoot in very effectively. They're just kind of caught on the hill there. Boris will stop who he can. The rest of them charge on into the Kossars. But the Warbears were ready, and I had them already moving in to engage since I saw them moving to attack. The Warbears will quickly chase off those Warhounds. We just have to deal with the marauding Bloodletters now. The TZAR Guard is also streaming down the hill, ready to engage. Battle should get real spicy real quick. We're gonna have Boris chasing down the nasty hot dog warriors that are engaging with our TZAR Guard. First clash is upon us. Those scimitars slashing. Battle's engaged in earnest. I don't know why people do the spin move when they fight. It is a pretty typical, batting them aside, pretty typical for you to see the human soldiers do spin moves when they fight. It's not something I'm really sure of as to why, but CA likes their spin moves. Got the Warbears smashing into that completely exposed unit of Bloodletters. They did have two of them charging into one, so pretty nasty on that initial charge. We also have to worry about the Herald screaming on in here with his Hellblade raised. Bears are doing good damage, but they are taking some in return. They prefer to be fighting some large units that have a lot of armor themselves. These Bloodletters are very low armor, high physical resistance, and pretty nasty damage dealers themselves. The Bear Hug. Completely whiffing and getting cut in the back by that greatsword. That probably doesn't feel great. This poor guy over here looked like he was getting dragged into a match combat animation. It didn't go so well for him. Fending off another wave of the Hounds. They're going to keep charging. I'm going to have these Kossars sit over here and just use those pistols to keep them at bay. We don't have to worry about any rear charges from those poor Hounds. Battle is going to be over very soon. We've got our Kossars moving in to fire in on the exposed flank. That physical resistance doing only a little bit for them while being shot fully in the back there. Boris taking some hits and delivering them right back. Chopping them up. Gotta locate our Patriarch, who has actually been engaged in combat with the Herald for a moment. He needed to get out of there. Bear Brothers are charging on in. Do I hear horse hoof sounds? It would appear that our bears are a bit confused. Got another Wrath of Winter coming down. Dropping that leadership even further, eliminating what small amount of vigor they may have. This Chaos Warrior forgot his little spiky bits on the top. That gives you +4 armor, my friend. You can't forget that part. What I tell you. Their Herald is still doing well. He's probably surrounded in bodies. Slashing through some more of our own. And they absorb it pretty well. This guy gets knocked off his feet, but I think he's going to survive that one. Got our Warbears out on the side. They did not fare all that well against these Bloodletters. They didn't actually lose very many models, but just a lot of damage back that normally we could have probably avoided.
We take up arms!
Boris is leading the boys. The Bears charging in and out of combat, just dealing their terror wherever they can. Demons, of course, being immune, but the Chaos Warriors are absolutely not. Slicing through. Running them down, knocking as many of them off their feet as they can. Batter them around while they are down. Once they're on the ground, though, I do believe they are completely immune. Get in there, Patriarch. Ursus doing his thing, using that gigantic mace. See how many kills the boy has. He's up to 9. He did not do much as far as killing, but he has inspired them to greatness. And with that, our first battle ends in victory.
We are stronger! We are better!
A glorious first victory in the name of Ursun. We lost 57 brave Kislevites in the battle, most of that going to our TZAR Guard, who were dealing with the demons a majority of that fight, which are a nasty bit of work. We did lose a couple of the bears and Ursun's fist as well, but they and their brothers got the same amount of kills at 59. Majority of those kills going to our TZAR Guard there, so the Red Guard scoring the golden sword. We will go ahead and give the Griffin banner on over to Boris Ursus, that way he is dropping. Interesting. So it does. It gives yourself leadership, and then the enemy it drops the leadership on as well. A pretty strong ability there, so we'll give that one to Boris, and we will quickly go ahead and sacrifice the rest of these captives to the gods of Kislev.
No threat to Kislev.
Agreed. A veteran warrior has joined our ranks. Let me tell you a tale of the last time the dark gods invaded the motherland. That was a fight to behold. Won a battle with 8 more infantry units. We gain +1 recruit rank for infantry units for Boris's army. He's also gained the Griffin banner. We'll gain the Griffin banner was the personal standard of Magnus the Pious, symbol of imperial bravery and sacrifice. It has the opposite effect of the enemies raged before it. Pretty solid. We'll swing on in and grab our singular skill point there. Or we gained 2. Interesting. Sounds good to me. I think we will go ahead and give him then the route marcher so we can move a bit further up here in the north. We actually don't have to worry about attrition from Chaos Waste since we are with Boris, so we're not going to grab Reassuring Presence just yet. I think if anything, we'll go for Fervent later on, but right now we'll probably grab the Heroic Resilience, giving him that passive ability so everyone around him, or sorry, for him himself, when he's below 50% health, he will have more melee defense and leadership.
I return.
For Ursus, who is actually rolling with the Strong trait, giving him 15 armor, 5 melee attack, and 10% weapon strength. We will give him Ursun's Roar to start, as well as the ability to replenish our troops. We want to drop the cooldown on Ursun's Roar, and then 4% more to our recruit rank, or replenishment rank. Lastly, with our new ill-gotten gains, we'll swing on into the Tower of Torment, and I think it is quickly time to put in an Orthodoxy Shrine so that we may civilize these northern savages in the way of Ursun. This will give us 1 devotion, 1 supporter, 1 control, and a -1 to our corruption. That will go up to 3 for each, which we definitely want to start getting our income, or at least our supporters, generating so we can help out Katerin in her pursuit to, I guess, confederate with Boris. For the first technology we're going to go for is going to be in the land section. We're going to want to grab all of the replenishment rate and growth we can, so we'll probably go for cold storage and then quickly scoot on over and grab convalescence. First, we'll grab cold storage. In the endless steppes, nothing will grow in the grip of winter. So preserving food for the long haul is not just practical, but essential. This will give us 2% more casualty replenishment rate, 10 more growth, and 1 control.
Become a stronger motherland.
Agreed. And now Boris will continue his journey north towards the Monolith of Vesterland. Boris would not be idle even while traveling to his next conquest. Ambassadors were sent across the frozen sea with its small crate of gold, his gift to the dwarfs of Krakadrak. The Tsar was well aware of the danger of isolation in his crusade against the chaotic powers, and he would create a powerful network of allies to finally strike back at the evil that had stolen so many innocents throughout the millennia. As the war party traveled, Boka called on the people of the land. Brothers, join us in our quest. What could be a better death than fighting for Ursun and all the people of the north? To hunt and destroy the ones who corrupt our lands and kill your families. Pledge yourself to Ursun and join us on this noble crusade. And so we continued our journey, with enough recruits to form 4 new units of Kossars. Half of the recruits were handed a weighty one-handed axe, and the other half provided with a spear about as tall as a man. Both were also provided with padded cloth armor, a simple wooden hunting bow, and a quiver of arrows. simple and functional equipment with which to deal death from afar, and keep the new Khazars marginally protected up close. After some time, the ashen wasteland and crater-marked landscape we'd grown accustomed to started to give way to steaming, bubbling pools, and what looked like slow, flowing streams, where cool mountain water was replaced with that of a viscous crimson liquid. The air hung thick with the fetid, metallic odor of coagulated blood, similar to that directly following a particularly gruesome battle between two large armies. Several of the newer recruits had to stop and either retch or steady themselves in the face of what was to come. Orson had guided them to this occupied ruin that was called the Monolith of Festerlung. It was now up to the TZAR to claim this place for Kislev. And we've got ourselves a battle against the defenders of the Monolith of Festerlung. Our 4 new Khazar units are going to be named as such: the Spears of the North, we've got the Winter Spikes, the Hail of Iron, and the Huntsman. They're going to be an excellent new addition. We're going to have lots of fun plinking the enemies apart with all of the new missiles. They've got 25 of those, so we should have a good bit of ammo. This first defending force here, led by Alzarks, is not all that potent. They've got some great act infantry. These are the Tribesmen of Khorne. Take a quick look at their stats. They have armor piercing. Let's see exactly how much. They've got 21, so not bad on the armor piercing. Pretty good charge defense, or charge bonus as well. Gonna have rage, so we're gonna want to try to shoot them apart as they come on close. They have both the Tribesmen of Khorne with great weapons and the ones with throwing axes, as well as a couple units of Furies. So we're going to want to focus those Furies down with the arrows first, and see if we can't use the other arrows to then deal with the Tribesmen. Of course, we do have the pistols as well, so this should be a absolute smashing. Let's get to the purging Khorne. More of Chaos's slaves bar our way. Fair enough, their lot is to die. The strategy is as follows. We have the Patriarch with all of our armored Khazars and a normal variant to swing on over here and pelt these lads full of holes as soon as they arrive. 6 seconds, here they come. We want to get set up in a position as fast as we can, while Boris and 1 unit each of the Red Guard and the Boris's Revenge come on over to smash Alzarks, the Herald of Khorne. The 2 TZAR Guard on this side are going to be a flanking force along with the Bear Riders. Let it begin. Got our first unit look at some of the normal Khazar units. They are a perfectly fine hybrid unit. They're very decent for a hybrid unit too. Most of the time when they do have a missile and a melee attack, they are terrible at one and only average at the other. Khazars being decent at both. They sprint on in. We'll have to take a look at some of these Tribesmen, which is going to be the first time we get to see some of them. They're going to be looking very similar to the Marauders, just a little bit more heavily armored. And Khorneized, which is indeed a word. The Furies have decided to beeline over towards our Bears, which I'm not sure why. It's a very smart idea, I promise. Half-dead Furies do a very good job against Bears. They'll get their charge bonus off at least, being very Khorne focused, but the Bears are going to have an absolute field day with that unit and destroy them. Second group of Furies is charging on in. They've actually done a very good job of dodging arrows as they do with their physical resistance. Very quick as well, so they can fly on in and deal all their damage. They're going to eventually pick a target, and once they do land, you'll see the health bar drop pretty quickly. They're going to get those spears out and start working as the pistols are blasting away at these poor throwing axes. Good. Luckily for them. Blood God cares not for where the blood flows. A lot of the pistol rounds are kind of ricocheting off that hill ineffectively there, but we do have plenty of arc for the Khazars to fire their arrows over. And not every shot is missing. The ones that do hit their mark are doing a full 24 melee damage, exploding heads even. Proving our politicians correct about the efficacy of 9mm ammunition. It's getting destroyed on their way in. Urkalisk is ready to deal his damage as well. Gives them just a little bop. He just gives him little bops with the hammer. He's not even trying his hardest. He's only hitting him with 10% of his strength. Another spin move. Look at this man. Although that one makes a bit more sense. And Urkalisk is somehow completely fine after taking an axe haymaker to the back of the head. That lad's fine too. And the Kislevites are sturdy. Some pistol shots directly in on the front there. This man has a 4-barreled pistol. Look at you. I don't know where you found that, but you need to share. This man didn't have a 4-barreled pistol and he's really upset. I'm gonna look at it, shame as he falls. Got our Zargard and the bears moving in to deal their damage from behind though. Get their revenge for any fallen brothers. Slice. I was hoping we'd see a removal of an arm. Turns out no. Let's take a look and see how the Herald is doing. He is completely surrounded and having the worst day. Bears, angry Kossars, or angry Zargard, and the angriest of Tsars himself. Give him haymakers right to the jaw. Now the unit serving as captain is already destroyed. And the bears have engaged as well. Mere mortals can't stand against the Warbear Riders. Even though they sound like they're clopping around like horses. And the dogs of Khorne run. That's another battle. One for Ursun. Another crushing defeat for the followers of Chaos. We only lost 4 Kislevites in the battle, a majority of the kills going to our Axes of Varengrad. Well done, lads. Edging out the Sons of Prague just by a smidge. We gained 19 devotion from that victory, which is probably the best of the resources we gained, as well as the Obsidian Lodestone, giving him a bit more spell resistance against all of the magical demons we've been fighting against. We will quickly go ahead and occupy the settlement. We will be doing no destroying. We're just purging the lands so that we can resettle what was once ours. Gilded Battle, we gained the items. We gained a Ritual Enforcer. The Orthodoxy shall be obeyed in all manners, especially when the alternative is Summary Execution, rather. We get less seduction cost for enemy Slaanesh armies, which is great, and then a reduction to corruption of 3.
Boris Ursus himself.
2 more skill points a person. Let's go ahead and grab the hard to hit for Boris, as well as giving him a bit more overall health. For Urkalisk, we'll probably go ahead and give him. He is strong, and we do have some of the warbears already in the battle. I'm conflicted on going between Tor's Battle Hymn and Selyak's Lullaby. The healing is obviously very, very strong, but this is also very canonical for... it feels like it goes with him being strong and all the Warbear Riders we've got with us. I think we'll go for sustainability up here against Chaos. We'll double down on Selyak's Lullaby, and then pull on out of there. We've got the Orthodoxy Shrine going in at the Tower of Torment, so here at the Monolith, we can go ahead and throw in a Brining Mind Pan, or we could go ahead and put in something that gives us a bit more growth. We will be moving up to claim either the Burning Monolith or the Howling Citadel next turn, depending on how far we can move.
Boris Ursus.
So I think to start off, we'll probably go ahead and go with one of the growth buildings. Roadhouse gives us 20 growth up to a maximum of 45, 30 from the farm estate. Let's go ahead and throw in a farmstead for now, give us a bit more growth, as well as a smidge of income.
Ursun's disciple.
While Boris is here, we can go ahead and recruit in some more soldiers. I think we have plenty of archers for now. Let's get ourselves a couple extra armor-piercing units, so these woodsmen have a bit of anti-infantry for them, and an armor-piercing. Grab 2 of those, giving him the Patriarch strength. Not quite. And I think we'll grab 2 more of these normal Kossars, just because they are cheap, and they do have arrows.
Faithful workers.
Faithful workers indeed. Don't quite have the levels for Dodge's Hearthblades, the Oath Brothers, or the Frozen Heart of Winter, which will all be amazing regiments once we have them. I think the last thing we shall do for this turn is come on over to the Tower of Torment, since we do have a low devotion still. We have a random chance of an army popping up that we have to deal with. So let's go ahead and grab a extra lord to help out. Our Boyar selection is Marat, the Tactician, or Oleg, the Cunning. Of course, in Radius we have access to these Lord Admirals, which have a bit of a missile attack and are frostbite and magical. Actually sounds pretty good against fighting demons, so we'll probably grab one of these guys. Judicator drops corruption by 1, and Strongholder gives us more melee defense for the whole army. Borodin, it is time for you to join the army. This will increase our upkeep by 62, which is not too bad. Absolute power. Yeah, so you won't be able to do any recruiting. We'll have to give you some troops next turn. For now, you are just an extra lad to sit there in case there's any nonsense going on in the home front. The TZAR's crusading force continued north towards the burning Monolith. The journey was long, but already the scouts reported the Khorne corruption beginning to recede. The pools of blood were shrinking by the day, the taint of the land being purged by the strength of our devotion to Ursus. We would see our motherland restored by our blood. The new Lord Admiral was a mysterious sort. None quite knew of his origins, and he was not the type of man to loudly boast of his many feats to all those who would listen. Some say he's a disgraced son of a dragon-blooded of Cathay, who found service with Boris searching for an honorable death against chaos. Others say he's the only survivor of an ill-fated Marienburg trading fleet that had the misfortune of riding into pirates corrupted by the Blood God, and that he has spent the rest of his career rising through the ranks of the Admiralty in order to personally bring war to the pirates that plague the Sea of Claws. Whatever his origins, his calm leadership inspires all those who serve under him to battle with even greater fury. Borodin now oversees the construction of a proper Orthodoxy chapel, while gathering a small militia to keep the populace defended. As we reach the outskirts of the burning Monolith, word reaches the court that the Dragina Enclave has been destroyed. We will send men to make sure all refugees make it safely here under our banner. Let their fury add to our own as we claim this place for Ursus. And now that we've arrived, it is time to bring our large crusading force against the Bloody Sword Defenders once more. This is at least a bit more of a complete group of Khornate tribesmen instead of the haggard force we dealt with before. Still going to give us a decisive victory on the auto-resolve, but it is time to destroy the defenders. Let's get to the battle. Right then, who's up for a rousing game of Whack-A-Savage? Let's get this battle rolling. We've got the battle plans as follows. The Zargard are rolling with their Tsar as intended. We figure we're going to do everything we can to try to keep, just canonically, Boris with the Zargard going forward. We've got 2 units of the normal Kossars off with him, as well as the Bear Brothers and the Wild Ones, acting as a armor-piercing flanking force. On the other side, we've got all of the armored Kossars, and then a good portion of regular Kossars as well. Bear Brothers and Axes as a flanking force, and then the Patriarch leading this group. I think this is going to be quite a nasty dual army here. Everyone is charging on in. We want the arrows to be flying away at those Furies best we can. A full health Fury squad is going to be very nasty to deal with, as you will soon see. They thought about dealing with our Zargard. I probably should have kept the Zargard back a little bit to engage and help out the Kossars. As you can see, they are going to get absolutely schmacked. Khornate Furies being nasty in combat. On the other end there, the Furies are engaging, as well as a bit of the portal to the Gates of Hell opening up. About to unleash its nightmare upon our armored Kossars, who are going to realize too late this is going to be a really bad day for them. And out they pour. Luckily, the Furies did smash into the armored Kossars in our front line here. While they would normally be doing a good bit of damage, they can actually fire these pistols in close combat and hit the units where normally they would be flying around and being really obnoxious. Urkalisk is dealing with that group, and not a lot we can do except for deal with this initial charge, which is really unfortunate. Could have been a good of blood spilt for our trouble there. However, some of our enemies are having a bad day as the Bear Brothers catch up with this group of dual axes. Batting aside, oh, they didn't even go anywhere. Those men are sturdy. If you can stand up on your feet after getting backhanded by a bear, to see this man, this is what's supposed to happen. When getting backhanded by a bear, you're not meant to stay on your feet. And they're gonna get run right over. I absolutely cannot wait till we have some of the anti-infantry bear brothers. They will destroy units. And I am very excited. Got that first unit of Fury disintegrating on away, and we've got some pistols firing into the backs of those Bloodletters as well, thankfully. They won't be able to fire for long, though, because some Great Axes are going to be charging into them. Stay strong, comrades. A few of these men sporting arrows in the chest. Followers of Khorne are a nasty lot. What have we here? That is an amalgam. Have you seen? So it's like the oh, it faded away. Like when C-3PO's been grafted onto the head of one of the battle droids. Flying doggos still causing some problems. We need to rout them off quickly. And the hardened brothers of Kislev have already crushed their right flank. And we can move, or I guess their left flank, our right. We can move on over to deal with the others with a quickness. We didn't even need the berserkers on this side. The units are mostly mopped up already. These guys look absolutely awesome. It's basically if you give the normal Kossars the dual axe look of the Khorne berserkers. It looks pretty fantastic. Got our own arrow blanket scattering the enemy, and Boris is going to find his way into the back line there. Blocking a couple axe shots and getting some return fire.
Annihilate every last fiend.
The dance of combat. Kossars are indeed used to it. Another lovely bear charge. Breaking the remaining. You won't be back if you're dead. Remainder of their forces shattered. Kislev once again is victorious. Nothing but glorious victory for the Chosen of Ursun. We did take a bit of casualties. They fell under the claws of those Chaos Furies, but with Salyak's Lullaby, we did manage to heal a few of the lads there. We only lost 69, nice. We are going to gain 11 devotion from that, as well as a potion of the old heals. Sounds good. We'll go ahead and claim the Burning Monolith.
It is Kislevite now.
Sure is. And the trait that we get for actually enforcing order on the Chaotic Wasteland, we get 4 devotion per turn. We do lose the control construction cost as we would with a normal unpleasant climate. We do generate that 4 devotion per turn per one of these that we claim there. And then for our hard-earned skills, we will go ahead and pass out another point into Scarred Veteran, and then I think we shall snag Inspiring Present. We'll keep working on the yellow line in a moment, but this one is going to give us a per turn 75 experience gain for the whole army, as well as give his leadership aura a bit more of a pack there, or a punch there. Let's swing on over to Urpilisk, and we will give him the Cleansing of Corruption, as well as the Icon of Strength to make him a bit more powerful in combat. He's up to 460 melee strength, which is actually heroic strength, which is only slightly behind Boris there. He is a hefty fighter himself. Down in the south, we will probably continue to have Borodin here hang out in the Tower of Torment. We could swing him out and keep an eye on this lands over here. These Slaneshi fools are going to be dangerous. I mean, we've got demons all over the place, so no matter what here, it's going to be a bit of a mess. How many settlements do you have? You have 3? I'm unconcerned with your secret. You and All-Seeing Eye both have 3. However, Helm Rip is much weaker for some reason. We do have to keep an eye. The orcs are down in here in the south here, in the Skull Road. Kolek is also down here in the south, so depending on who wins the Kolek versus Grimgor battle, we'll have to be dealing with him as well. And then, yeah, there's Archaon. Says he is off to the south here at the Writhing Fortress. We may actually... He only has the 1 settlement. We may take the extremely aggressive route and come down here and bring war to Archaon. Stop the Ever-Chosen before we can get started. Only problem with that is he will then join just another Chaos Army. We'll be dealing with Archaon no matter what, but that's fine. Those holding the line in Kislev proper have been having a tough go of things. First the Druzhina, now the Ungol kindred have lost the holds entrusted to them. The survivors will of course find shelter in our band, and our hearts will burn brightly with vengeance alongside theirs. Research had completed on the cold storage techniques Catherine had been developing in Kislev. While not as proficient, our ice witches can lend their aid in keeping supplies fresh when we need them most. Our next goal was to train our current retinue of witches in the art of battle, so that the Motherland's icy fury could be truly brought to bear against the dogs of chaos. Red TZAR made his decision to march on the Howling Citadel. He was now traveling with a large army, brave sons of Kislev one and all, and he was proud of their progress thus far. Those that had fallen already would be remembered in song. It would be a long and perilous march, and he sent word to his Lord Admiral to move to the Monolith of Festerlong, to better protect the people in their lewd lands while he was away. It appears the Khorne barbarians have some spine after all, and dual force moves on over, led by Horson himself once more, and a Slogan Blood Spike, who looks to be a legendary lord of some kind. Boundless Wrath. He has got disrupted, magical attacks, and a bonus for his infantry is going to be very nasty. We're going to keep him away from Boris and our Patriarch if we can. But it's going to give us a decisive victory in the auto-resolve, and I would agree. Let's bring Ursun's wrath upon them. Once again, Hell's dogs move to face us. The angry TZAR shall be dealing with that in turn. So our battle strategy for this one, with a quite a bit larger Khorne army, very similar to the last one since that worked out so well for us before. Only difference being we've got two of our berserkers in the middle to attack the flanks of whichever side is exposed at the time. The rest of the formation is exactly the same, and we will be facing a fairly similar army there. Only difference being that we will be facing against these Khorne riders instead of the Furies. So instead of the flying chicken nuggets, we have these lads with these very rusty looking hot blades. They do have I'll take a look at their stats real quick. They've got a bonus versus infantry, so they're going to be pretty nasty if they get into our troops unopposed. We're going to be wanting to make sure that that low armor is getting shot up in the backs if they're able, because they do have some quite nice silver shields to block our arrows with. Let's take it off of the slow-mo and let's get this battle going. They've got reinforcements coming in a whole minute 41, so we're going to actually want to close that gap pretty quickly and start damaging this first unit here before they do arrive. Bear Brothers started to get a little bit ahead, so we're going to want to try to pull them back just a bit, unless we can try to lure these riders forward, because the bears will absolutely crush them in a fight. What they do best, comrades. On the other side of the battle there, we have a summon of some bloodletters in on our back line. Luckily, we were a bit more close together this time, so the Zargard can respond pretty quickly to deal with the hot dog soldiers emerging. That man did not use his shield even a little bit, and because of that, is among the first to have his skull claimed. We have 2 units of Zargard and the Boris moving to deal with this group. Any summoned unit is going to have a really bad day. As long as you keep your elite infantry in with your arrows, and this is why you always want to when fighting against Khorne. You will always get a random summon of hot dog lads in on the back line, and that is always inopportune. Got our Bear Brothers just trying to lure these cavalry men forward, and they look to be doing the same, trying to bait my Bear Riders in closer to their spears. But I think we can actually charge on in here, do plenty of damage, and retreat before we take much in return. Those claws ripping through the horse flesh. Already down to almost no health in just a matter of seconds. We're going to rout them off and immediately retreat. A mound of dead flesh, and the battle is already broken. We'll swing over to the other end, where very similar is happening, with the Patriarch lending his aid as well. The Horsemen of Khorne learned that they are not greater than bears. We do want to keep those bears away from the spearmen, though, because spears hurt no matter how large of an animal you are. Enough spears get, flank, you will bleed out. This is coming from me, the doctor. Doctor in absolute doofusness. The Khorne warriors just kind of running aggressively around. They've got the Tom Cruise run on point. The reinforcements have arrived on into the back there. We're going to want to make sure we keep some of our archers available because this group does have some Furies. Furies, Warhounds, all sorts of nastiness has emerged. A bit of stuttering, but we shall fight through it. With Ursun's blessing. Got our dual axes actually getting into some fight this time. They should blend right through these spearmen. This is exactly the unit these guys want to be fighting. Medium armor and infantry. The bear actually providing the anvil for the axemen, as unlike what normally would be happening. Plenty of Kossovite arrows fighting their mark as well. Battle going quite well for us so far. And this is my opportunity to once again plea to CA. If you want to send me one of these nice shields, I would not be opposed. Look at that thing. Very well done. And I want one for my wall. Our patriarch is bashing skulls and crushing everyone he can see. His name is Urkalisk. And he's here to smite thee. The leg sweep for the guy that was about to take out Urkalisk. No one was actually, but ew. We're never going to get a chance either way. More spearmen charging in. They have no shields, so every arrow we have is going to be focusing them. And they are very good at catching those with the side of their head. You have a squad of Furies flying overhead, though, so we want to be careful with that. Warriors with shields engaging with our berserkers. Another fight that they definitely want to be taking, but the combat stats there are a bit mismatched for our own, so we want to be careful. Furies decide that the Zargard are the juiciest of targets. You keep your archers just far enough back, they won't choose not to fly all the way over there. I guess they calculate that they'll take more damage than they want. So they turn around and take a much worse fight instead. Fight hard, warriors. We've got a summon of the Bloodletters in our Kossar line. We want to try to pull them away. They're going to take a lot of damage if they can't escape. Hand axes do not perform well against great swords, as you would expect. They're getting some support from their allies there. And Bloodspike has charged on in. Quite an awesome looking model, too. Got the dual Chaos axes moving on in. They almost look like the Daedric axes from old Skyrim. And our Patriarch is going to be wanting to run away from this as fast as he can. Dual lightsaber axes are not something he's wanting to deal with. We've got some Kossars moving to just slow the enemy down while he can escape. They also have their other lord in and engaged with our other armored Kossars, and they are having an absolute bad day. Many skulls will be removed. The Sky Attack of the Century cleaving through our men. We've got some nasty attack animations that cause them to get all of the extra damage in. Got our Bear Brothers in against 3 units of the enemy there. They can fight Axemen for days, but Spearmen are again 1v1. We want to try to pull back. They're very large units and they get poked very easily. Dogs are trying to charge in and take out dudes from their legs. Hold in there, brothers. We've chased off the unit on the other side, so we have some reinforcements charging on in the form of bears. Smashing aside our enemies there. They've got a counter-charge from their riders. I don't think that's going to go as well as they think it will. Glaive and bear fight very well in combination. Another blanket of arrows to keep them warm. Caught one right in the neck. Another follower of Khorne sacrificed to Ursun. They're breaking and running as far as they can, or at least as far as the line we can see. Most of the enemy is already defeated. Herald does lie in a pile of Kislevite corpses, though. Most of the enemy already defeated. We do need to make sure we focus down on this lad, though. He is also going to be cleaving many brothers of Kislev aside, like they don't exist. Got Bear Brothers kiting the enemy out to the outside, a mass rout in the center. Once the enemy gets down to about 13 leadership, if you charge the War Bears in, they will rout 100% of the time, no matter how much health they have left. Kick in the turbo speed to run away as fast as they can. Got the other Bear Boys, like I said, hiding the enemy around just because they have so much more speed. They can just kind of move around and force them to move through this debuff. Drops their leadership, and the rest of them retreat. Army loss is kicking in, as well as Boris finishing off the Herald. What more can you ask for? Victory, Kislev. And so the followers of Khorne break against our wall. We stole from them a Banner of Eternal Flame. We'll go ahead and give that over to our Patriarch. He'll be handing off flaming attacks as well as a additional 5% to the melee attack and base weapon damage of all allies in range. We only ended up losing 199 brave Kislevites in that battle. It was still quite a aggressive force of Khorne there. No matter what, when you face Khorne, you are going to take some losses there. So we are going to quickly go ahead and sacrifice the captives as we have before. Keep that devotion heading on up towards Ursun.
A round of beheadings.
Now let's get to spending our skills we've earned. Let's go ahead and immediately grab the Resettler. Boris's return heralds the period of unprecedented growth among the Kislevites, proving his intrinsic connection to the motherland and its people. Indeed, this gives our growth to all of our provinces an additional 10, and then it drops our colonization cost to 0 faction-wide, which is going to be pretty amazing. We'll also go ahead and give Boris the full plate armor, make him a bit more chunky once he does engage in combat. He's got one more, so we'll give him that as well as Foe Seeker so he can move around exactly where we need him. For Urkalisk, I think it's time to grab a secondary point into replenish troops very soon, but since we are actually first about to be into a battle, let's give him a double point into Impassioned, increasing his melee defense by 7. He's up to a 42-41, making him a little bit of a better duelist than he was before. He's never been really meant to be a full-blown duelist. He's a leader, but this will keep him alive a bit longer. And then we have the army of Brand here that is wounded. We will leave them alone for now, just because if we do attack them, it will most likely drop our movement just enough where we cannot reach the Citadel. And this army is so weak at this point where even if they are able to recruit up a couple extra soldiers, I think the stalwart defenders of these towns should be able to hold. And if not, we have Borodin moving more central. I'm going to have him grab into, or go ahead and jump into March Stance, so he can make it to the Monolith. He doesn't have the drop to attrition that Boris does. So I think a lot of our heroes and such that we're going to have at home are going to be focused on dropping attrition. So we are going to be taking it a majority of the time in the north. Now we'll swing on over to Boris and charge into the Howling Citadel. Slalin Bloodspike, prepare yourself.
I will impale them.
Let's get to it then. We are on a marvelous horse, both him and his Patriarch. Grab our Griffin banner, give it to Boris, and then the Banner of Eternal Flame and hand it on over to the Patriarch. The forces we're going to come against are the Berserkers of Khorne. Take a quick look at their overall stats there. So they've got this one. I'll just kind of quickly go down the line. Dual weapons are as such. Been battling with the Tribesmen, which are just their armor-piercing unit. Some Shieldsmen, several Riders of Khorne with their anti-infantry, and then some Fleshhounds of Khorne with a lot of weapon strength, also anti-infantry. There's going to be some nasty units here behind these walls, but again, I think it'll be nothing to the Champion of Ursun. Let's get them. These coordinate dogs have been backed into a corner. Each time we meet, ending in brutal defeat for our enemies. It was always to be so as we fight with all of the wrath of Ursun, and they fall before us like ripe wheat. We shall break the walls these fools cower behind, hymns of battle blazing in our hearts. Not one step backward, brothers. Let it begin. One final battle, comrades, and the province is ours. We shall zoom on out to take a look at the strategy. We have the same setup of the Zargard and Kossars. More Kossars with the Zargard this time, and then we'll have our Wild Ones and other Woodsmen up front using that Vanguard deploy to get in on those walls as fast as we can, or at least camp by them so we can have them up where we need them as fast as possible. Patriarch on horseback as well is leading his armored Kossars into the fight. We've got a lot of enemies behind the wall to deal with. Whole heap of enemies. Regular old marauders of Khorne, tribesmen of Khorne, berserkers of Khorne. Whole bunch of Khorne. The forces surge forward, though. We have the Zargard and the Bear Brothers moving to... The Tsar himself and the Bear Brothers moving to beat down the gates. Patriarch as well. I've got the other bears waiting to see where we need them the most. We do have a summon of the enemy in on our Zargard from behind there. Really unfortunate. Getting a rear charge like that hurts no matter what. But we have extreme ranged advantage here, and we are, as you can see, using it to extreme effect. Launching all the arrows over the wall we can. Now 2 units of Zargard have engaged with the single of the hateful hot dog warriors, and they should mop them up pretty quickly here. The ladders hit the wall, and the berserkers have moved on up. Going to be quite the fight here against these Khorne berserkers. If they have any hope of winning, they're going to need lots of fire support. Several already fall dead. They're so much smaller in stature to the Khorne warriors. They'll fight as hard as they can, though. That is not a fight they are going to enjoy. Zargard have defeated their hot dogs and have moved forward. Our berserkers are taking a lot of damage on the walls here. But they are doing an excellent job delaying the enemy. Gatehouse is nearly down on each side. That's broken over here with the Patriarch and his bears. They should be charging right on in. Smashing warriors aside, the Flesh Hounds have decided to engage. I guess we're not going to get to do much charging in with everyone wanting to get in the way. Flesh Hounds are going to be nasty, but the bears much nastier. And they eat Flesh Hounds for breakfast. The Red Tsar and his brethren charging into these axes. Knocking plenty of men aside, breaking as many bones as they can find. The axes on the wall are about half dead. They have taken a lot of damage. Lesson learned, they are definitely more of a flanking unit. They do not fight well against a tribesman of Khorne in a one-on-one fight. Especially not after they've used up most of their vigor getting up some stairs. All of our units of berserkers are faltering a bit there. Kilgore is, this isn't Kilgore, this is Slalin. He's going to be doing fine by himself. Plenty of Khorne going down. We've got the Riders charging on it as well. Yes, give my bears all of your large units, all at the same time. That is perfect. They're going to keep fighting. Solyak's Lullaby is going to come down very soon because we're going to definitely be needing the extra health. Boyar is struggling all of 0 against the lads he's fighting against.
This was not meant to be.
There are an absolute ton of them, though. And a few bears do lie slain. But only a few. A slice going down. They're gonna talk all the smack. These berserkers on the wall are They continue to file on up and just kind of pile sadly and limply to the ground. We have quite the battle for this gatehouse going. They have all of their units just charged in, all moving as one, just to stop us with their mass. Hard to even really see what's going on. A lot of slaughter, and it was a lot of this is not meant to be. Whole bunch of marauders are running. Plenty of arrows are flying over the top.
We'll be back. This was not meant to be.
I feel like we've got some funkiness with the audio here, because there's not that many people routing, but they keep saying this was not meant to be.
This was not meant to be.
Is that just when their leadership is wavering? That's the general voice line they give? It's a lot of it. We've basically just got two scrums going on, for lack of a better word. Just trying to push through, keep slaughtering, keep cutting. It's going to come down to whoever has the most units and the most elite. I think it's going to be the Motherland. Arrows are flying over the top, getting all that chip damage in. We've got all of them flying on the lads on the walls who have slaughtered my poor innocent woodsman to a man. They did not perform very well against those Khorne berserkers at all. Got some hot dog soldiers out there chasing some of our Kossars, who are running as fast as they can.
They spilled Kislev blood.
They're not doing the best job running. A few of them have been caught. This is the game of tag where the only thing at stake is your skull. Balance of power is firmly on our side, although we do have another unit of Kislevite axes running for the hills. Got a unit of Kossars moving on down. They did send some berserkers over to deal with them, but I think our armored Kossars combined with the Patriarch that I'm attempting to pull free to charge into their rear there will do fine. Together in tandem.
This was not meant to be. We'll be back.
Red TZAR is very popular.
This was not meant to be. Leave no demon standing.
There's no demons here, but leave none of these clowns standing. Boris goes into rampage once more. And our Patriarch is just allowing everyone to chop at him with his axes, but they are not fighting our Kossars. Him, Averson, going down as he charges in, battering aside more, trying to break who he can. Those berserkers actually chose to chase him instead of fighting the Kossars, allowing us to chop away at their backs there. Trying to rip those shields apart like hands.
We'll be back. No! This was not meant to be.
Khorne's definitely going to need more tribesmen when this battle's over. Boris has defeated his side. The last few breaking and running. The Blood God will forsake this group for sure. Turns out the regular old piercing tower throws out rocks, which is a bit unfortunate. We only have a few of the enemy left to round up. And they are having to fight bears. I don't foresee them lasting too much longer. Proud of angry lads that they are.
This was not meant to be. We take up arms.
The last of them break, the only remaining soldier being Bloodspike.
Turn and fight! Where are your spines? They seize at
Destroying one of those Khazars. We do luckily have the bears on him, which are all armor piercing, and have some pretty nasty weapon strength. And we will continue to charge the Patriarch in on their backs, pretty much on repeat. The rest of the army is completely shattered. A few of these are going to keep coming back, and since their leadership is so low, they'll see a unit get close to them, and then they run. It's as brave as you think it is. Ursus staying into combat a bit longer than he should. He's not really rated for a one-on-one fight with a duelist Khorne. But he is rated for random charges in and smacking dudes in the back of the head with a mace. Bop. Gives them the old bop. They are going to be pistol whipping anyone they can on their way out. Give him another volley for me. No. No such luck. Guess that's how it's going to be. The rest of the army with Boris over there is going to be trying to secure as many of the points as they can, just so we're not getting shot by towers till we destroy this last lord here. Another axe chop in on Ursus, who needs to run. Gives him a bop back with the mace, though.
They seize at our skulls!
You can see staying in combat a little bit too long there. Bloodspike finally starts to waver.
We will endure! We take up arms!
Just a couple more swings. The bear loses his rider. He dies honorably. One does not simply kill a champion of Khorne, and he flees. The last of Khorne's followers run for the hills. These guys here will take one look at Boris and bug out. That is another victory for Kislev, and the province falls under our control.
No!
It was hard fought, but we managed victory, and we wrest this town from our enemies. We generated 37 devotion. We did end up losing the wild ones, as well as one of the unnamed dual axe woodsmen. Most of the woodsmen took a lot of damage because they were up there on those walls, fighting in the thick of it. We will claim this victory, though, happily, and occupy the settlement.
It is Kislev now.
We'll have to purge this plague, but that should be little matter. We gained another veteran warrior. Bloodspike has been destroyed. Bloodfire Falls now belongs to us, and we've got ourselves a plague. But now they have just the single army down here with Brand, and if he is not in a camp stance, he will be taking attrition. So we just have to deal with this last army here, and that should be that. And once again, we have some skills to pass out. We are going to quickly swing on over and grab 2 points into Wound Maker, maxing out his overall weapon strength for his skills at least, so he's up to 558. Going forward, we are now going to start working on increasing his bears. So we're going to go for Creatures of the Land, maxing that out, giving him plus 8 melee attack and a 10% weapon strength for Warbear Riders, Bear of the Ice variety, and Snow Leopards. And then from there, we can decide if we want to go for Best of the Court or Firing Drill or something along those lines. But swing on over to Ursus.
For the motherland.
Ursus can now go for Replenish Troops and Cleanse Corruption. Got 2 more points there, so let's go for an additional point into Impassioned and grab some Soothsaying. Excellent. And here at the town, we have any
Ursus.
military buildings going in soon? The answer is no. Probably want to leave the Market Square in for now. Not a lot of other options for buildings just yet. Let's keep the Market Square as well as just another farm for a bit of growth in money. I'm not sure if we want to keep that Market Square in. We will soon have a tier 2 settlement though, so we just need one more turn before it turns this into a Stanitsa. So we will probably do that before moving on with Boris or Bordovden over here, just because we want to stay as safe as possible. So let's go ahead and grab Boris.
I follow the bear.
And recruit up some more Axemen. I do really like the dual axe variant over the single axe version, so we're going to grab 2 more of them just to fill those ranks back in. And pass out our first commandment here to Bloodfire Falls. We go for Power of the Church, giving us a bit more recruit rank and a drop in corruption. Corruption looks to be down to 0, so we're good on that one. Awaken the Land gives us a bit more of the old gold, and then Purge the Steppes gives us more control. I do think we're going to go for the additional control and a drop to campaign movement range for enemy armies. That will be coupled with the drop to movement range that I believe Ursun generates. Oh, it does not actually. Fair enough. But for now, it is time for Boris to rest up and recruit up some more soldiers. Prayers to Salyak will be performed en masse to rid this place of plague before it spread to our other reclaimed settlements. Already, farms are starting to crop up in those places already purged of Chaos's grasp. Boris has thus far been victorious at all turns, but greater challenges are to come. Thank you everyone for stopping by part 1 of our Boris Ursus narrative campaign. Huge thank you to everyone for your support and patience while it has taken me an extended bit of time to get this created. I really hope you all enjoy the finished project. If you have any tips, tactics, or name suggestions for units, lords, or heroes, put those in the comments below and start a discussion. I'm out of time for today. I have been Space Wizard of War. Remember to leave a like for the like god and a sub for the sub throne, and I will see you on the next one.